know it's really there?
Science says so.
Science says so. Probably a science teacher, science book. So, but you believe in it. But you've never seen it, you've never heard it. Okay. So, if you believe in electrons and you can't see them or hear them, why wouldn't you believe in Jesus just because you can't see him or hear him? Makes sense, right? Because you have your science book, you have your science teacher. Well, you also have preachers, you have good ones. You have people who've had their own personal experiences. So if you believe in them, maybe you should give faith a chance. Okay, and faith is, according to the Bible, free visual aids, so King James Version, you can see it. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Doesn't that sound a lot like electrons? Yep. So, there you go. Okay. Dr. Eben Alexander, a Harvard neurosurgeon, fell into a coma. He claimed that he saw heaven. Before he experienced this, he didn't believe in things like this. He was a perfect scientist, some would say. He was a neurosurgeon. He didn't believe in near-death experiences or after-death experiences where people come back. He had many patients telling him of that, but he didn't believe any of them. So, until it happened to him. There's an article, as a matter of fact, I have a copy of it. It's called Readers Join Doctor's Journey to the Afterworld's Gates. For years, I'll just read the little first part to you. For years, Dr. Eben Alexander III had dismissed near-death revelations of God and heaven as explainable by the hard wiring of the human brain. He was, after all, a neurosurgeon with sophisticated medical training. But then in 2008, Dr. Alexander contracted bacterial meningitis. The deadly infection soaked his brain and sent him into a deep coma. You can read his book called Proof of Heaven that recounts his experience. And I have those if you want to read that. Oh, by the way, there's an atom with electrons around it too. I meant to show you that earlier. Sorry. Okay. And Mike Evans, he is a Jew who testifies that he was badly beaten a lot by his dad. But he survived the beatings. And when he was 11, he said Jesus actually appeared to him. He actually, at first he was scared because he had his eyes closed. He was there in his throw up and, you know, he was kind of getting ready to die. And he didn't want to open his eyes because he thought it was his dad coming back, turning on the lights and was going to do more stuff. But he did, and then he saw it was Jesus. And he tells about that experience in a book that he wrote. He's written several. One you can read is called Living in the Fog, Favor of God, by Mike Evans. And then you probably all heard of Joan of Arc, right? Okay. She lived in, do you know what era she lived in? Do you remember? I know it's been a long time ago since you probably learned about her. The 1400s. And how many rights do you think women had then?
None.
Yeah. Well, for some reason, she was just a teenager and a female in the 1400s, but for some reason, she was still outspoken. Not only was she outspoken, she actually told people that she heard voices that she believed were from God. She was a Catholic, and she believed that these were saints talking to her. And she actually led the French into battle and led them to victory at a time where no one listened to women, especially a little teenage girl. So where do you think she received this great power and strength from? I believe it was the God that she said that she talked to. And you can read about her in Mark Twain's writings. You've probably heard of him. You can also read a book called Joan of Arc, A History by Helen Castor. And then personal experiences. I know I've had personal experiences where I've heard from God. My faith, I can't really claim to have great faith because I've had miracles, so I had proof. But actually, before I had the proof, I had faith. So I think that verse that talks about if you seek me with all your heart, I will come to you, I think it's true. Because I was young enough when I first learned about him that I wasn't jaded. So I was open to the idea. I didn't know how crazy the idea of believing in Jesus was at the time. Like today, it's not quite sometimes cool and popular. But I've had like dreams that have come true. And I've had answers from God. God still answers today, sometimes audible. I don't think that's probably the most common way that a lot of people say they've heard from him, but it still happens. I know one time when I was in 5th grade, for example, I think this was one of the revelations that God had given me personally. I had a dream that we had gotten sent away to like a children's home. And I woke up crying. It was a very vivid dream in color and detail. I remember my mom holding me for hours telling me there's no way that would happen. She would never let it happen. 2 weeks later, there was an emergency in the family. I got sent to a place just like the one in my dream. Just like it, bunk beds and everything. And there's no way I could have imagined that as a little 5th grader. And I was spiritual at the time. I prayed and I believed in God. And I think that he, like I said, that verse, I think that he answered my prayers and was looking out for me. And it made it a little more bearable since I had seen it once in the dream. I wasn't as shocked. But, so if you're really serious about finding out about him, I encourage you to just say a simple prayer. Any simple prayer. It doesn't have to be a magnificent one, or you don't have to sound like a priest or a preacher, but I just encourage you, if you don't believe in him, to give him a chance, because he's real. Does anybody have any questions? Comments?
I think it's such a personal thing, and that that God is real, and it is very personal.
Thanks. Anyone have any questions or need anything for us? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.